Italy. Yes, they have great architecture, great weather, great food, great wine, and to drive here is to live. But best of all, they have absolutely no idea what is meant by the phrase political correctness.
Women are terrible when they drive. They shouldn't take the driver license. It's very dangerous. They're not good as men to drive.
In the medieval days, one used to distinguish between man on foot and man on horseback. Now they all want to be men on horseback.
Pedestrians are basically considered expendable. In other words, you don't see them. You don't even see them. Now, children are very important, but the common run of the pedestrian is absolutely despicably ignored.
The extraordinary thing is that despite all this anarchy, the traffic seems to flow very well. Mind you, if I had £1 for every car that didn't have a dent on it, I'd be no richer. But these urban street fighters are built to be thrashed and crashed, unlike the other type of Italian car. These cars could only be Italian because, like the country itself, if most of the accidents happen in town, as you're saying, why do no Italians that we've seen wear seatbelts while they're driving around Rome or wherever?
Well, you know, no, seatbelts are very important. Everybody knows that, and the Italians are the first one to admit it, theoretically. But if you had to use your damn seatbelt every time you get into your little Punto or into your big Ferrari, if there is any such thing in the Ferrari, well, I think that would amount to a kind of lack of confidence in yourself. If you put a seatbelt on, that might invite disaster. And the Italians are very superstitious. Now, it's like betting against yourself. Seatbelts are a real threat to public safety.
I never use seatbelt because I think it's not necessary to use in the city because you know, you don't go so fast, and I never use seatbelt in the city. Double lines means you can cross, but you know, if no one coming, oops, happen. Sorry, but we are in the hurry. We have to break the rule.
Traffic is marvelous, it's amusing, can be fatal. But why? Because it's unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen.
Sounds like you're saying it's fun, this unpredictability.
It's a great fun, except once in a while the price is too high. Once in a while you have to end up in the hospital. That's serious. But as you know, we have developed the best orthopedic clinics in the world.
Because you know you're going to have the accidents.
Yes.
Look at this van, they can't turn, but they do.
Driving, you know, whenever you drive a car for an Italian interior, it blends in with their anarchistic, almost naturally anarchistic bent. You know, they love to drive around. They love to drive at any speed. The only speed limit that in Italy is being enforced is really the speed limit of your own car, you see. Because, you know, you can have all sorts of laws in Italy provided they are not enforced. In a sense, it's true that you can, once somebody said that it was not difficult to rule the Italians, it was just unnecessary.
We step down off the curve and you wonder
if you're going to get hit.
If you're going to get hit or if they're going to stop. And so I've been trying to watch when others go, and then when others start walking, then I'll walk. Because if there's a group, they seem to slow down and stop.
They will also slow down and stop to look at a nice car. And cars don't get much nicer than this. This is the first car that Enzo Ferrari ever built. In biblical terms, it's Genesis. It's owned today by a scrap metal dealer, a man who spends all day long breaking up cars, and then he comes home at night to this place, where the cellars are full not of Italy's second passion, wine, but of its first, cars. Lots and lots of cars.
This car is a 1937 Lancia Aprilia and was bought second-hand by my father in 1939. During the war, when the Italian government forced all cars to be scrapped to make boats and aeroplanes and things, my father hid all of our cars. This one under a haystack, where it stayed until the end of the war.
This
is the most beautiful car I have in my collection. First, because it is an Alfa Romeo, my favorite mark. And second, because it is the best of all the racing Alfa Romeos, the 2.3 Monza. Third, it was Nuvolari's private car, which he built in 1933 for racing. Nuvolari raced the car for a few years, winning some races, and he was especially attached to the car. And for this reason the car is important, because Nuvolari was a hero, the greatest racing driver in Italy, and probably in the whole world at that time. For Italy, the Alfa Romeo is a symbol, and the reason why I especially love and treasure this car.
But today, Alfa Romeo is a faded star, its place in the firmament taken by Ferrari. This is Maranello, the town in northern Italy where they make Ferraris, where the Grand Prix team is based. It's a Sunday, and I've come to see the priest. Elsewhere in the Christian world, Sunday is a special day for men of the cloth. But in Maranello, its specialness has nothing whatsoever to do with God. He's watching the Grand Prix. We'll come back later. And the priest isn't the only one. Out there, the streets of Maranello are like a scene from the Omega Man, except even Charlton Heston is at home, watching the Grand Prix as well. You come take a look. When the Scarlet cars are out racing, the town just stops. But if they win, all hell breaks loose.
It's a great occasion here. Everybody with a Ferrari comes to the piazza and they start blowing their horns. I go and ring the church bells. But even if I didn't ring the bells, other people would come and ring them for me, because it is the greatest of occasion here.
So, in all his years, who was the best driver that he ever saw?
Gilles Villeneuve. He died in 1982, but without doubt, he was my favorite. He was an exceptional driver, and he was so nice, and he drove for Ferrari.
And that means, of course, that there are people out here who have jobs that you would die for. This quietly spoken, civilized man with his unassuming, ordinary family gets up every morning, takes his breakfast on the terrace, and then heads off to work. There's nothing even remotely extraordinary about the car he drives to work, but the car he drives at work is rather different. At 14, he got a job in a woodyard so he could drive the trucks. And now all he does all day is test Ferraris to destruction. How on earth do you get a job like that?
I entered Ferrari 25 years ago. The job requirement were for a test driver. I applied for the job and they sent me to school for 9 months. At the end, the company gave us an exam, and the people that had passed, of which I was one, were sent with the old test drivers to see how the job was done. Then slowly, we started ourselves.
So, is he the luckiest man in the world? Not necessarily.
My name is Mimo. I have a test driver Bugatti. I have the best job in the world.
My name is Valentino Balboni. I am test driver for Lamborghini. I have the best job in the world.
The spirit of Lamborghini.
Lo spirito della Lamborghini è sempre attacco.
It is a spirit, a soul which is totally different. It is very special the way they make their cars. I had the good fortune to know Ferruccio Lamborghini personally, so I had the chance to understand his spirit. He always wanted to make things different from everyone else in terms of character and prestige. That's the way he did things.
Come prestigio e così via.
Durante le mie fasi di collaudo entro completamente.
I'm here to explain what I think about this very beautiful car. It is a fantastic car built to the highest standard, using the latest technology and materials. Every day when I drive it, I feel it in my heart. It is an astonishing, an amazing feeling. I feel it in my body. It is both an emotional and physical response to the car.
The amazing thing is that Ferrari, Lamborghini and Bugatti are all based within 15 miles of one town, Modena. If you want to know about Italy, the best person to go and see is a man who owns 25% of all companies quoted on the Italian stock exchange. He owns Juventus Football Club. He owns a couple of big papers out here. He owns Sestriere Ski Resort, and on top of all that, he owns, and I mean he privately owns, Fiat, Lancia, Alfa Romeo, Maserati and Ferrari. If you want to know about Italy, get suited up and go and see Giovanni Agnelli. In the world, there's what, 5 supercar manufacturers in total, and yet in Italy, in one town, in fact, in Modena, there are 3. What is it about Modena?
Well, I must say Modena has always been a place where we've got mania for mechanics. And we've got tractor factories there, we've got the Ferrari factory, we've got earth-moving machinery factory. But everybody's a mechanic. Everybody, they tell you what an engine is when a motorbike passes. I mean, they've been brought up and trained on the noise of engines, and they love it, and they're very good engineers, mechanical workmen.
You're not joking. Modena may be a communist-run peasant town, but would you just look at what it makes? Right, that's enough looking. Let's get out there and burn some rubber.
Sleeping in my car, I will embrace you. Sleeping in my car, I will caress you.
The thing I've noticed driving around Italy is that nobody seems to use the car simply as a means of transportation. I haven't seen anybody talking on a mobile telephone. Nobody seems to be just listening to the radio. Driving is something to be enjoyed. It's an art form. It's something to be done with grace and style and panache. And that's why when I get this Bugatti into the turbo zone, no one wags a finger. I'm driving a fast car quickly. And that, to an Italian, is the most natural thing in the world. But when it comes to getting noticed, the Bugatti is a shrinking violet compared to this piece of rolling thunder, the Lamborghini Diablo. I know all about the expression "when in Rome" and that I shouldn't really be wearing seatbelts, but I'm British and I'm keeping them on. Besides, I don't really subscribe to the professor's idea of Italian road safety, good hospitals. This car is fast like no other. It's brutal. It's a 5.7-litre vibrator. Having squeezed as much as they can out of that huge engine, the only way to make it go faster is to start shedding weight. I've no radio, I've no electric windows, there's just acres and acres of carbon fibre. I love the Diablo, but it's an expensive truck compared to the best supercar of them all. The Ferrari 355.
Shine a light.
I honestly think it's fair to say that I am experiencing motoring perfection here. I can't think of a single way this car could be better. But Italy is no different from Britain. Of the 2 million cars sold here every year, only 200 to 300 are what you might call supercars. No, in Italy, more so than anywhere else in Europe, perhaps anywhere else in the world, the small car is king. And you only have to look at the facts to see why. Italian drivers may be crazy, but they're not stupid. The towns are old, the streets are narrow, and parking is an absolute nightmare. Petrol is very expensive. And then there's the taxation rules. Anyone who can afford to run a car with an engine bigger than 2 litres is the kind of guy who likes to bathe in ass's milk. And above all that, you've got a whole load of kids who stay at home longer than they do in the UK, so the money they save on rent or a mortgage can be spent buying themselves a little car. When they launch a small car here, the fuss is so enormous, you could be forgiven for thinking they just won the World Cup twice on the same day. Why? Why the small car? Why is it so popular here?
Well, I tell you why. It's out of necessity. I mean, when we started motorization in Italy in a big way, in the 50s, let's say, the income per capita in Italy was very low, and the desire to be motorized was very high. So the only way to do it was with a very inexpensive car. And there came the Cinquecento, the Seicento, from the pre-war Topolino. That is really the less expensive form of motorization you can give people. That's why it happened that way.
They were great little cars, but what would you expect from a country that puts this much effort into its car factories? This architectural masterpiece, really, is a 20th century equivalent of the Colosseum. It's the huge Lingotto plant, slap bang in the middle of Turin. Production moved upwards, and as the cars rolled off the line on the top floor, they were taken out onto its most astonishing feature, the rooftop test track. Today, Lingotto is a monument to Turin's world domination of car design. This Alfa may be a product of Milan, but everyone from Ford to Toyota uses Turin styling houses. Turin is where you'll find two of my all-time heroes, Mr. Giugiaro and Mr. Pininfarina. Turin is automotive Mecca.
Well, I think it has been probably the most influential of all the school of designs, and this started after the World War II. I think that millions of cars belong to the Torino school. When I say Torino school, I don't mean only Pininfarina. I mean Pininfarina, I mean Giugiaro, I mean Ital Design, I mean Bertone. There are millions of cars running or which have been designed by the Torino school. That is, I think Italian school has been very influential.
Milano, anche se c'era l'Alfa Romeo.
Although Alfa Romeo is based in Milan, here in Turin was a more important industrial base, and because of Fiat, many smaller coach builders set up here. Essentially, Turin is a breeding ground for artisans, just as Silicon Valley is for the computer industry.
I think that Italy has been famous in the story, in the history, for the masterpiece in art, which means that the Italian people are certainly conscious of beauty. They love classical beauty, which is in our blood.
A lot of car companies nowadays use customer clinics, asking the man in the street what he thinks he wants for the next car. Surely none of these cars can have come out of a customer clinic. Do you use customer clinics? Or?
No, personally I don't, because I believe we must lead the design, and the custom clinics normally are a sort of result of the taste of the moment. And they reflect the past, not the future.
Film directors, sculptors and artists do not conduct clinics. Surgeons, do they conduct customer clinics to prove if they are good at what they do? No. Their professional approach gives them an advantage. It is the same for cars. Although they are a technical project, there's always an artistic element in them.
What, in your opinion, is the best-looking car ever made?
La Jaguar. La Jaguar.
It is difficult to say, but Jaguar makes a beautiful car. I like a sport coupe, and when this Spider came out in the 60s, it was a dream.
There are many.
Names?
Many, because if I would copy my father, it would be the best looking car is my next. But if I have to say what I like best in my spirit, certainly is the Ferrari cars.
The people in this part of the world have got it in their blood to make cars like this. They seem to have a natural gift if they come from this region.
People in Italy are free to build great cars and drive them however they want.
Let us say they're rather difficult to decide.